Hey everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media, and oh yes, we are on the action cam again, which can only mean one thing, and that is that it's time for another I Watch 3 vlog. So this is actually the first I Watch 3 vlog of 2024. I've been doing a lot of the recent watches instead of the vlogs, but today I decided I'm going to kick off a brand new vlog. What's different about this one is that it's not themed in the same way that my other vlogs were last year. So this time around, what I've decided to try is I picked out 3 different movies to watch. All 3 of these are available on physical media, but they're also available streaming. So what I'm going to do is watch all 3 on streaming first and then decide after I watch it, is that something I need to have in my physical media collection, or was watching it on streaming good enough? So that's what we're going to end up doing today. So I'll be watching 3 different films. The first one is going to be Night Swim, a modern horror film that's available for streaming on Peacock, and then determine if I want the Blu-ray for that. And then we have a film from 1950. It's a film noir called The Killer That Stalked New York. I always mess up the title of that one. And then finally, a Robin Hood adventure called Sword of Sherwood Forest. And that one is from 1960. So this vlog is going to run the gamut for different genres and years. So hopefully it'll be entertaining for you guys to watch. I will include timestamps in the description box below. If you only want to hear my thoughts on the items or the different movies, you can do that. If you only want to see haul portions of the video, you can do that, whatever you desire. So that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this one. So with all of that out of the way, let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right into my most recent I Watch 3 vlog. Alright, so I just finished Night Swim, and I gotta say, that was one of the goofiest horror films I think I've ever seen. Unintentionally goofy horror films I think I've ever seen. That was not good. I am very glad I didn't waste the money on the Blu-ray for that one. So this one is streaming on Peacock. It started streaming the same day the Blu-ray came out. So we're following the story of this old baseball player. He's not old. He's young, but he's developed MS, and so he can no longer play. And so they are looking for a new home, and they stumble upon this one as they're driving through the neighborhood. And there's a pool in the backyard, and they talk about how they've always wanted a pool. And so they're going to buy this house. Well, turns out the pool is haunted, I guess. And some of the moments in this are just ridiculous. So this one is directed by Bryce McGuire, who I've never seen any of his other films. I guess he also did Baghead, which I've not heard good things about at all. That was from 2023. He either wrote that one or directed, maybe both. I don't remember. But anyway, so we have our core 4 is who we're following here. This family of 4. We have the older sister, the younger brother, and then the mom and the dad. And I didn't like these characters very much at all. The mom and dad, I didn't buy their relationship. There was a chemistry missing there that I would have liked for something like this, just for a relationship like that. That was completely absent, basically the entire film. I think in terms of the acting, I think the daughter and the son, I think did a nice job. The mom was fine. She's probably our main character throughout this. And the actor playing the father was not very good. I just didn't believe anything that was happening to him throughout this entire film. And so the acting was a bit of a mixed bag. I did love the real estate agent. I thought she was great, very natural, and just like this odd character, like not odd, but just a funny character. I don't know. I thought she did a great job, but a very minor role in this. So I understand this is a supernatural horror film, right? I totally get that, but even so, some of the absurd things that happen, there's a point where a character survives after being submerged in water for like 10 minutes. Like, it's just the most ridiculous stuff ever. And it never really gets better from there. Like, I don't know. Just the way they kind of stumble on to the pool being the main source of all their problems, I thought was super easy, given everything else. Like, what would make you think the pool? I understand you're seeing things while you're in the pool, but it just, there's a bit of a leap there. Like, why not the house? Why not the grounds? Why is it the pool? That was so odd. At least for the first part. I understand maybe with the kids that, it's a little more kind of in your face, but I don't know. Everything happens very easily for these characters. The way this thing wraps up, I thought was just so absurd. It builds to this like sacrificial moment that it feels like it's supposed to be big and powerful, and the movie just didn't earn that at all. I didn't care. Like, I don't care. And my camera died on me, so that was fun. But yeah, so anyway, picking up where I left off, like, basically just the way things wrap up, it didn't earn the feelings it was trying to go for, the emotion it was trying to pull out of the viewer. It didn't earn that at all, so therefore it failed. It didn't get that emotion from me whatsoever. The whole thing is just utterly ridiculous. The evil, the bads in this, the baddies, some of them are the goofiest looking things imaginable. My wife was watching for a few minutes and she said, yeah, he looked like the Pillsbury Doughboy at one point. Like, it was so absurd. Now, admittedly, there were probably 2 different moments, maybe 3 different moments in this that I thought were genuinely creepy. And that's when they went with one of the specific bad guys or baddies in this. I thought they looked really cool, and just the way they were kind of presented on screen, I thought was very effective. That worked well. But honestly, that's like 2 or 3 moments, and literal moments, beats in the film out of a 94-minute movie or whatever it is. So it's not worth it. It's not worth those little bits of creepy to watch the rest of this film. This is not a good horror movie. I'm so glad I didn't waste my money and pick up the Blu-ray on this one, because I was very close. This was one, I really wish that my buddy and I ended up going to the theater to see this, because this would have been something we could have talked about for years, because I guarantee you he would have hated this one as well, knowing his, knowing what he thinks of film typically. But yeah, this was just disappointing. I didn't really know, I figured it was about a haunted swimming pool, I guess, but I didn't really know how they were going to do that. And the way it's handled, it's just, I'll repeat what I said to start this. This is one of the goofiest horror films, unintentionally goofy horror films I have ever seen in my life. So I guess I'll leave it there. I don't recommend it. If you're curious, it's on Peacock. Like I said, check it out, but I don't recommend this one at all. I'm so happy I didn't get this Blu-ray. So yeah, I'm going to give Night Swim from 2024. I'm going to give this one 1.5 out of 5 stars. Again, there were 2 or 3 moments of creepy that I think worked really well, but outside of that, virtually nothing else worked in this film for me. Like, just just thinking back on it more, the whole, it's just, I can't get into more without getting into spoilers, which I'm not going to do for these vlogs, but it was just absurd. I don't recommend this one. 1.5 out of 5 stars. Hopefully the next one will be a little bit better, because that was just a waste of an hour and a half. Too many movies. So anyway, I ended up finishing The Killer That Stalked New York last night. I went to bed much too late. I was after midnight, which I shouldn't be doing. I am old. I can't be doing that stuff when I have work the next morning. But, so this one, again, was streaming on Tubi. And this was one that I stumbled across completely randomly. I think I talked about him earlier, but Damn Fool Idealistic Crusade mentioned the nitrate, oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget her name. Let me find it real quick. The Nitrate Diva. And so I Googled that, and I found the blog that he was referencing, and she had a list on there of 10 film noirs with somebody, I don't know who. But in the introduction, there was a movie that was listed that sounded fascinating to me, and that was The Killer That Stalked New York. So I looked it up, and it turns out it's on this, I think it's a collection from Warner Archive. It's a film noir Volume 1. And there are 9 movies on it, and it's only like $25, so it's not a bad price at all. But I thought, you know what, that'd be a perfect addition for this vlog. See if I love it, if I love it, see if I want to pick it up or not. So I ended up putting that one on yesterday. Relatively short, only about an hour and 15, hour and 20 or so not too long. Of course, it is film noir. So this one is from 1950, and it is directed by Earl McAvoy, who really died young. Actually, he died young in his 40s, as did the main character Charles Corvin. No, I'm sorry, William Bishop, playing the doctor in this. He also died really young in his 40s. So that was really sad to see as I was doing research on this. But basically, why this sounded interesting to me was because from what I read, I thought we would be following the story of a serial killer in New York City, while at the same time, this outbreak was happening of smallpox. And the idea of mixing a serial killer with an outbreak film, like that fascinated me. So I literally found out about it the day I watched it. So yesterday. So it was a late addition to this vlog, but I had to see this, and it's not exactly what I thought it was. What we are following here is basically a tale of two stories. We have a jewel smuggler who is basically doing the bidding of her husband, who is a piece of garbage. And we have a smallpox outbreak movie. That's the secondary story, or the second story that's going on. Turns out that's the same person, which is not a spoiler. It's actually in the IMDb listing. I just glossed over that part and missed it, but it's the same person. So this woman is coming back from Cuba to mail her husband some jewels that they ended up smuggling somehow, some diamonds. And she's going back home to New York to, meet up with him. Well, at the same time, turns out she is the smallpox carrier that's bringing this horrible disease into this city of 8 billion people they keep talking about. It's a matter of the police trying to stop this jewel thief or this smuggler, and the doctors trying to find unknowingly the same person who happens to be the carrier of this outbreak that's happening, that's killing a bunch of people. Really, this is a very depressing movie because you're getting lots and lots of death. There is one death in particular that hits pretty hard just because of the character that it impacts. But overall, it's very sad. It ends on an incredibly dark note, I guess. Also, if you really think about what's going on, it's not really played that way, but if you think of the reality of the situation, it is extremely dark. So this was a good movie. I enjoyed watching this one, even though it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going into it. I still think it was done really well. I've not seen any other movies from this director. I think he only actually directed 3 films before he passed away. But he was crew on a lot of others. And I thought the acting on this was pretty well done. There are some minor characters that are a little bit questionable. But outside, of the minor character, I think our major characters do a really nice job. I'm surprised that, and I guess the main male who I was just talking about, whose name has completely escaped me, who passed away relatively young in his 40s, William Bishop, he was doing a lot of westerns on TV, which is something I spent zero time with and frankly just have very little interest in. So I didn't know him at all, but I thought he's a great actor. I think he's very charismatic, and I think that worked really well for this role. Our main actress is played by Evelyn Keyes, and she actually, even though she's the lead of this, she's kind of portrayed in a negative light, the character is, but she ended up suing the studio because she thought that she was put into this role because she turned down the advances of one of the heads of the studio. So she ended up suing, and they settled out of court, at least according to the trivia that I read on IMDb. And I thought that was kind of interesting because she does a really good job here. And yes, the character is kind of a negative character, but who cares? It's a character. But again, it's just a different time, right? Back in the 40s. So, and that was interesting. But yeah, this is a pretty good movie. The acting, I think, is well done. The story is interesting, even though it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. It does I mean, admittedly, it is a little bit slow at times, and it doesn't really go into the film noir as much as I was hoping it would. Toward the end, it really kind of goes for it a bit, but it feels a little bit out of place based on everything else that's led up to this. And so that was kind of silly, like bringing out a gun at one point toward the end of this, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, that's not a factor in this movie at all until we get to the end. So it almost felt like they knew they needed to make this more noir-esque. And so they brought in this gun element, and, kind of the revenge element is prevalent throughout the whole thing, but it really comes into play towards the end. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So not the greatest movie by any stretch of the imagination, and one that a lot of people probably don't need to waste their time with. But if you're a big film noir fan, even though this doesn't really feel as noir as some other things I've seen, which noir is a genre I need to spend a lot more time with, or it's not a genre technically, it's a style, I guess. But I've enjoyed everything I've seen of it, but I need to spend more time with it. So I enjoyed this one, but it's not great. I'm going to put this one a little bit above average. So I'm going to give and I always forget the name of it, The Killer That Stalked New York from 1950. I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I think this is above average, but not great, and not something that a lot of people need to seek out. But I'll mention Tubi is one of the most underrated services out there. It's an excellent streaming service. Yes, you do have commercials, but they're spaced out pretty far, and they're inputted in the movie at appropriate times. Like, they do a better job than a lot of movies that you watch on TV when I was a kid, watching movies on TV. These tend to do a better job at placing the commercials than that even. And the picture quality on this was excellent. Like, it felt like it was taking from the Blu-ray that the Warner Archive Film Noir Archive Volume 1 was using, because it looked like a high definition transfer. It looked excellent. I had no problems with that whatsoever. I want to say it was a mono track, which is likely the original track for this. So I thought it sounded good as well. No issues there. And again, Tubi, check it out if you haven't. It is like slept on. I feel like it is excellent. The question now, of course, the whole point of this vlog, am I going to pick this up on physical media? And I'm really torn on this one because I like the movie, but I don't need to own this in my collection. However, the set that this is included with has 8 other movies for $25. So I am tempted. But I think I'm going to pass on that one and grab this other one that I have in my Amazon cart right now. Let me pull it up so I can get the name of it. But there's this other one. It's only 4 films, but they're supposed to be 4 of like the greatest noir you can get. It's called 4 Film Collection Film Noir, and it is from the Warner Archives collection. You can get all of them on separate releases. There is The Setup, Murder My Sweet, Gun Crazy, and then the one that's supposed to be the best of them all, Out of the Past. And that one has Robert Mitchum from Night of the Hunter. And Robert Mitchum is brilliant. Like, I really want to see that. So I'm tempted to forego the collection that this is on, even though there's 9 movies and it's about $10 cheaper, to get this other one that only has 4 movies and is about $35, $37 right now. But I really want to see those movies that are on that collection. It is a super highly rated collection. So I might go that route. So, am I going to pick this one up on physical media? Chances are no. But that might change because it's only $25. It's relatively cheap. So we'll see. Maybe I'll probably look up some reviews of the others and see if there's anything in there that sounds like really interesting that I need to see. And if so, I'll probably end up picking that one up, but we'll see. So that one I'm not entirely sure on. I'm thinking I'm going to pass and go with the other collection instead, but time will tell. So yeah, I'm glad I spent my time with this one. Like, not a huge time commitment, and more black and white films under my belt is always a good thing. More noir under my belt is always a good thing. So I have no regrets with this one. Like I said, 3 out of 5 stars. I think that's a pretty good rating for this, but let me know if you've seen this one, because I've never heard anybody talk about this before, but I thought it was pretty interesting to watch. All right, so it's actually a Friday, but I ended up taking today off like a month ago because we were planning on going to WWE SmackDown tonight, which is here in Detroit, but unfortunately we ended up waiting too long to try to get tickets, and now, because my daughter wanted to go with me and my buddies, it would cost over $200 to get the nosebleeds, and it doesn't seem worth it to us. And so we ended up passing on that. But I am going to see Civil War tonight in IMAX, or EMAX technically, because it's at our Imagine theaters, which is a chain near us. And I'm really excited. This is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. As soon as I saw the trailer, like, I cannot wait for this. So my buddy and I and another buddy and a friend. We're all going tonight, and so I'm super looking forward to that. But before I do that, because I have the day off, I want to go out to a disc replay that I haven't been to in quite a while now. It's been, man, I don't even know, 4, 5 months, maybe even longer than that. But I've exhausted my current one with the DVDs, and that's what I'm looking at today. For some reason, I'm interested in some DVDs, maybe even some double dips, if they have better features or things like that. I have a whole list of things I'm looking for. So we will see if I can find anything at the other disc replay I'm going to. It's a little bit further away, so almost an hour of driving to get there and back, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Have a day off, have to go pick up my daughter in, man, I don't know, 5 hours or so. So I got plenty of time. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I figure I'll show you guys what I picked up. I don't know if I'll film while I'm there, but I'll at least show you what I ended up grabbing. So that's what I'm going to do. And then hopefully I'll be back in time to watch the last movie for this vlog so I can get this wrapped up. But we'll see where the day takes us. Alright, so I'm out of disc replay. Of course, I spent way longer there than I anticipated, so it's already a little bit after noon now, but I am outside of a Big Lots right now. I just received an email this morning for 20% off your whole order, so I'm gonna go see if this one, which is right down the street from disc replay, if they have anything interesting, because I never come out here. So we'll see. I do have a big old bag filled with stuff. They were doing buy 2, get 8 free on the DVDs, so I found some that looked interesting, so I got 10 of those, and then a collection, which I'm super excited about, and I'll tell you why. It's raining, though, so I think I'm going to keep my camera in the car this time, and you'll probably see me again when we get home, unless I end up going to the thrift store. I might do that. We'll see if I have time. I've killed all my time at disc replay. But anyway, I'm going to head in here to Big Lots and see if I can find anything cool. Alright, so back in the truck, obviously. Excuse the weird angle. Hopefully it works out. We'll see. I'm trying something different with the location in this vehicle. But anyway, I went into Big Lots, and unfortunately, they don't appear to have movies anymore. I asked a couple of the employees if they knew where they were. They said, oh, they're in the back. But I went to the back and I didn't see them. So I don't know what's going on there. The last Big Lots I went to, one closer to my house, they got rid of their kiosk entirely, and they put them in with like the random seasonal section, and there was only a handful. So frankly, how I'm looking at it, at least at 2 of the 3 that I've been to recently, they seem to be phasing out movies, much like Dollar Tree did, or has done for the most part. Obviously you can still find some things there, but I don't think they're getting anything new in. And so, unfortunately, that is feeling like it's going the same route, which frankly makes sense because, as you guys know, if you've shopped Dollar Tree and Big Lots, basically, if something doesn't sell at Big Lots, then it ends up at the Dollar Tree. So, you know, if Dollar Tree's being done, it kind of makes sense that Big Lots would be done as well. But anyway, I am heading over to a Goodwill right now. It's right down the road. It will likely be my last stop. I have a little bit of time, but we'll see what I end up doing. But I'm going to hit up the Goodwill. I frankly almost never find anything at Goodwill. I usually have to go to my other thrift stores like Salvation Army. Goodwill is a lot more expensive. You're paying like $2.99 a DVD. At least that's what it was last time I was there. And $3.99 a Blu-ray. So even if there is something there, it has to be worth taking the risk on. Whereas Salvation Army, it's 50 cents. So if the DVD looks kind of questionable, I'll still take the chance because it's 50 cents. So at the Goodwill, it needs to look good in order for me to pick it up usually. So we'll see. But that's where I'm heading now, is Goodwill. And again, it's still raining, so unfortunately I don't think I'm gonna end up taking you guys along inside, just because I don't feel like taking the camera into the rain. Though it is an action cam, and technically I could go swimming with it, I guess, if I wanted to. I just haven't ever done that, and frankly probably will never do that. But anyway, now I'm rambling. Let's go to Goodwill. All right, so it's actually now like days later, unfortunately, but things got crazy over the weekend, and I just didn't get to share with you guys what I grabbed, but I do have it here. So we're going to talk about what I picked up. I have you on my tripod right now. We're going to talk about what I picked up. Where am I going here? There we go. That's good enough. And the lighting over here is not that good. Let me fix that. All right, maybe not notably better, but hopefully a little bit better. But let me show you guys. So I did go to Big Lots. I think I told you that was a bust. I went to the thrift store, and actually I went to multiple thrift stores. I'm going to save all that. That's way too much to put into this vlog. You'll see those in upcoming thrift store hauls because there was a bunch of stuff. So let me start by showing what I grabbed. So this first one here, I picked up because of one movie on here that I just found out about this past like a week or two ago. And it sounds interesting, but it comes in this Studio Classics collection, which I actually saved in my eBay watch list a day before I went to Disc Replay, and I happened to find this. Unfortunately, this was like a quarter of the price, but I ended up finding this one here. This is Black Widow, Call Northside 777 with James Stewart, Dangerous Crossing, and Laura. So the reason I wanted this one was for Dangerous Crossing. That one just sounds interesting to me because it takes place, it's a film noir that, as far as I understand it, takes place on a cruise ship, which we're cruisers. I love going on cruises, and so I thought that would be a really fun one to watch. So I ended up picking up this 4 collection pack here. I think actually it might be 4 discs, yeah. And what's really cool also, they're all part of the Fox Film Noir line, which is like a little bit more difficult to find nowadays. So I thought this was a really cool find. This was one that I bought separately, so it was like $5.99, but a really good price compared to eBay. So that was the first one. And then everything else in here, I have 10 DVDs. So these were all part of the buy 2, as I make a wrinkly bag here, buy 2, get 8 free sale, which is just crazy. So I spent in total, less than $15? I think like $12, $13 on these. So really good deal. So and that includes this one here. So the movies are only $3.33 each, and it's buy 2, get 8. So that's $6.66 there, plus $6, yeah, so like $13 or so. Anyway, in no particular order here. Here is one that has Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn in it. It's called Made. And I didn't know this one, but I think it is written and directed by Favreau. So feels kind of in the same line as something like Rounders, for example. And so hopefully this one will be a good one. It's like 2 friends are basically trying to become bad guys, and it doesn't seem to be working out for them. So I'd never actually seen this one in person before. At least I never noticed it. They had a bunch of copies of it there, though. So I grabbed the special edition of Made. And then, oh, these are cool. So you guys know I don't, not so much anymore, but I used to collect a lot of UFC stuff. Well, I found these in the store. This is UFC Hits Volume 1 and Volume 2. So it's just best of compilations. It looks like, you're not going to be able to read it, but on the back is all the match listings. But what's really cool about these is that they look like they go back to like the early days of the UFC. Like this one here is within the first 3 UFCs. And, yeah, so that's the era that is like the most fascinating to me because they just, anything went for the most part. And it was absolutely chaos. It was crazy. So I love this era. So that's why I really wanted to grab those. And then this is a movie I've heard of before, but I never owned, and it just looks funny. It's called Fanboys, and it's about a group of friends who are big Star Wars fans, I imagine, yeah, Star Wars fans, and they are gonna reunite to go to this convention of some sort, I believe. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. It talks about angry Trekkies on the back as well, so hopefully this one will be pretty funny when we get around to it. It looks fun, and I've heard of it all, like, so long ago, so hopefully it'll be enjoyable. And then here is, I was debating between grabbing these as like standalone releases because they all came in these snapper cases. So I was thinking, oh, it'd be cool to have all 3 in their separate snappers, but I decided to save money. Might as well just pick up, 2 other movies instead to go with the triple feature of Free Willy 1, 2, and 3. Of course, I've seen the original Free Willy more times than I can possibly count on VHS. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember loving it. And then Free Willy 2, I probably have seen back in the day, but I don't really remember it. Free Willy 3, I don't think I ever have seen. So we'll see. So Free Willy 3 is full screen. The other two are widescreen. My thought, though, is that that's most likely its original aspect ratio, because I don't imagine that one got a theatrical run. I'm guessing it's a made-for-TV movie, but we'll see. So yeah, so 3 Free Willy movies, pretty darn cool. Always be on the lookout for Free Willy on Blu-ray, because that one is worth quite a bit. This was really random, but I've never seen this before, and I thought, why not? It's called The Black Cauldron, as if no one's ever heard of it before, but it's Disney's The Black Cauldron, a very popular movie. But yeah, this was the era where Disney wasn't super popular like it is nowadays, and kind of before the Renaissance with Little Mermaid and Aladdin and all that. And so it's an interesting one that I've never seen that I always wanted to check out. Of course, I could watch it in high def on Disney Plus, but I thought this would be a pretty cool one to have in the collection. And there is a deleted scene in this as well and some games. So I don't know, hopefully it'll be enjoyable. Maybe my daughter will enjoy it when she gets old enough, or, you know, my son. So next up here is one that was released on Blu-ray not too long ago, and I really want to grab it, but it has held its value. It's up to like $25, and so I just haven't pulled the trigger on it, but this is a really fascinating documentary. It's called American Movie. I talked about this in the anticipated releases video whenever this came out last year, and it is just fascinating. It's basically a documentary about these two friends kind of in the middle of America, just trying to make a movie. Yeah, they're from Wisconsin. So yeah, it's a low budget horror film called Coven. And it is fascinating. They're just unique individuals that it's absolutely worth watching. So I was really excited to find this one. Yes, I do want to upgrade to the Blu-ray eventually, but you know, just to have it in my collection, I will definitely hold on to the DVD. So really cool ad there. I'm going to save this one next. So here's one. This was recommended in a video from Movie Chatter, and excellent channel. If you haven't checked that out, I'll link it down in the description box. But this is called Shattered Glass. And why this was recommended, or the video that it was recommended in, was, I believe, movies that she loved that didn't have a Blu-ray upgrade. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what I remember it from. And the fact that it's Hayden Christensen. That part fascinated me, because I don't think I've seen him really in anything outside of Star Wars. And so I really want to just check this out and see if it's any good or not. Peter Skarsgård is also in this, Chloe Sevigny. So a really good cast on this. And it's about a staff writer for a current events and policy magazine, and how the article basically affects his life. So I don't know. It should be interesting. Hopefully it is. I mean, she recommends the best, and so that's why I put my faith in that. And then there's this one here, which I was so excited to find because I just saw it in a video last week. Neil over at his channel, he's starting to do like his full collection, and one of them he came across, or he showed, was Batman Begins. And what's cool, of course, I own this on 4K. I owned it on Blu-ray for the longest time. But what's unique about this is that it comes in this little case because it has the 2-disc deluxe edition DVD, but it also has this graphic novel, which is super cool. And so that's the reason I wanted to grab this one, just because it has that graphic novel. Oh, something fell out of it. Let me grab that. Interesting. It says here, correction. The credits for the story The Batman should read writer Bill Finger and artist Bob Kane. So that's interesting. I've never seen that before. I'm going to shove that back in here. But yeah, really cool. And so that's the reason I grabbed this one. So it's a double dip. Probably should put this in my double dip video, which frankly I probably will, because all these will be ones that you guys can see again in a haul video, just because not everyone watches these. And then last but not least, another double dip for me, but this thing is gorgeous. This is Pearl Harbor, the director's cut, but it's a 4-disc set. So hopefully you guys can see this. Again, I'm using my action cam, so it doesn't like focus in at all very well. But there's just a ton of extras in this. There is it all getting in here? So there's a little booklet there, some postcards over there, which is really cool. Like, this is just really interesting. And the disc, so unfortunately, you can kind of see there, I ended up ripping that open a little bit because I wanted to make sure the discs were inside. It was brand new. And so clearly they didn't check to make sure the discs were there. So I wanted to just verify that they looked okay, and they did. But because I didn't have a knife on me, it ended up ripping it a little bit, but that's okay. I don't really care about that. This just looks awesome. And so this will replace my normal, like, 1-disc edition of it. But I thought that was really cool. Just a 4-disc edition of Pearl Harbor, which I did see in theaters, and I really enjoyed it. But it has been since it was in theaters that I've seen it. So definitely got to revisit that at some point. But yeah, that's the big stack here. Let me kind of grab this all in one here. That's what, I mean, this took me long enough. That's why I didn't want to put the thrift store haul stuff in this as well. But that's everything I grabbed there. So yeah, pretty darn good day. Like I said, this was only, I don't even know, a quarter of what I ended up picking up that day. But let me take a break for a second, and then I'm going to talk about the last movie I watched for this vlog. Alright, so the last movie I decided to do for this vlog, it was completely random, how I kind of stumbled across this one, because I'd never even heard of it until recently, but I was watching Damn Fool Idealistic Crusade. I was watching some of his older videos where he talked about, like, the best and the worst discs of each of the last 3 years, and in one of those, he talked about a release from Indicator that had Robin Hood at Hammer, and there were 2 films in there. First off, he loved the box set, so that's kind of the thing I'm gonna buy if I end up loving this, was this Indicator box set off of Amazon. But he loved the box set, and so that's when I started looking these up. Well, turns out Sword of Sherwood Forest from 1960, directed by Terence Fisher, was one of the 2 movies on there. So as I mentioned, these are Robin Hood movies that were done at Hammer Studios. I have spent no time with Robin Hood over the years. Frankly, I don't even think I've seen the Disney version of Robin Hood, or if I have, I was much younger and just don't remember it at all. But this was one that I was interested to see, like, am I going to enjoy a Robin Hood story? I was under the mistaken impression that these movies would be more aimed toward kids, but boy, that could not be further from the truth. These are definitely adult action adventure films, and I had a significantly better time with this than I ever would have expected. Basically, with this one, so this actually takes place after the TV series, The Adventures of Robin Hood, and it stars Richard Green as our titular character, and he's who played it through the TV series, which I think ran like 3 seasons if I remember right. So I don't have any of that context, obviously, but I don't think it really matters going into something like this. With this one, essentially, we're trying to follow Robin Hood take down this corrupt sheriff. So the sheriff of Nottingham, and the sheriff is played by Peter Cushing, who is fantastic in this. What's fascinating about this to me, and what I loved so much, is the fact that the event that kind of sets things into motion, really, where the sheriff ends up killing one of Robin Hood's men, that moment is like straight out of what we get in Star Wars, 17 years later, also played by Peter Cushing, right, as his Tarkin character. And so where Tarkin says, he's talking to Princess Leia and is, I will destroy Alderaan unless you give up this information. She does this, of course, and then he destroys Alderaan anyway. And that exact type of thing happens in this movie, which I thought was just so interesting. I just have to wonder if maybe that's kind of the idea where Lucas got this or not. But I thought that was really cool. Just a fun connection between a new film I've never even heard of, really, to something that I love and admire, like Star Wars. I loved that connection with Peter Cushing. So anyway, the sheriff of Nottingham is essentially trying to take over the outlaws' lands and take it from their family after they pass away, which is obviously wrong. And the maiden Marian also is in this with Robin Hood, and she and Robin Hood and the men obviously are trying to work together to prevent this from happening, specifically to his fallen soldier, whatever you want to call him, his friend who ended up being killed. And so we're trying to see if they're going to prevent this sheriff from taking over everything, essentially. And like I said, I thought that these were maybe more aimed at a younger audience, but it's not. These are quite violent, even though there's not a lot of blood or anything like that. And we're in the 13, 14, 1500s, whatever it is. And so there's no guns or anything like that, but instead we are using bow and arrow. And I think they do a really nice job with that, making them feel legitimate. One thing that I will admit in this is that the sword play, the choreography, it feels really silly. It almost feels like a stage play. And it's very difficult to make to make choreography look good, no matter what you're doing, but especially in a stage play. And because it felt like that, it didn't look the best, but it's just one of those things where if you're going with the story, you can kind of just roll with it and be done. And so that's why I was able to go with it. I didn't have much of an issue with it. It was just enjoyable. I laughed a lot more than I thought I would. It's a charming film, I think is the best way to describe it. And because of that charm, I was just sucked in by the whole thing and had a great time with it. I loved the sets in this, the fact that it's using Hammer, or that is a Hammer production, kind of felt like that just with some of the sets that are being used. It looked great. This is one, though, admittedly, maybe could have lost 10, 15 minutes along the way, maybe small cuts throughout the way, just to shorten the runtime a little bit, which it's only like 80 minutes anyway, so it's pretty short already, but I felt like there were probably some things that were added in order to make it, over an hour long, where maybe it didn't need that. But still, I had a lot more fun with this than I expected. The story is what it is, kind of reaching the climax. Maybe is not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's kind of the trip there that I think is worth taking. So I am going to give The Sword of Sherwood Forest from 1960 3.5 out of 5 stars. So now the question is, am I going to spend the money to pick up this box set? Let me mention that one of the main reasons that Damn Fool Idealistic Crusade loves this box set so much is because there is an interview on there. I think it's listed as like a third commentary track, but it's like a 70-minute interview with the director, Terrence Fisher. Frankly, that name wasn't familiar to me because I'm just not steeped in that era of horror, but he was a big horror director, did a ton with Hammer and whatnot, and that's kind of how he got his name made. And the interview with him is supposed to be excellent. He is a huge Terrence Fisher fan. So while that might not hit me in the same way, I still think it's interesting that it's on there. And it just went down in price again. This actually was at what it currently is, $26.28 for like the last week or so it's been in my cart. It went up in price last night after I finished the movie, and I was like, oh man. But today it looks like it dropped back down again. So am I going to pick this one up? The answer is yes. I'm very interested to check out the other movie on here and just to see if I like that one as well. And for the price, that's a good price. There's like hours and hours of bonus features on this, which is really the reason to get it. So I'm definitely picking this one up. I'm intrigued to see if I like the second one as much. It is a different director, but I believe it's the same Robin Hood character, so hopefully it'll be enjoyable, and that one is not available. I should have mentioned, I watched this one on Tubi as well, and it looked great, again, so definitely recommend Tubi. It is so underrated, but yeah, looking forward to checking these out on Blu-ray, and hopefully I'll like the second one. Now, that said, because I was having such a good time with this, I decided, you know what? Errol Flynn has a Robin Hood movie, why not check that one out? So, I ended up grabbing The Adventures of Robin Hood off of eBay. This was like $7 shipped. So very good deal on this, cheaper than on Amazon, which is why I decided to go that route. And it is loaded with special features. You won't be able to see that given the camera I'm using, but it is just filled with special features. So maybe this is a new Robin Hood kick for me. I have no idea, but that one is definitely one I will be checking out. So yeah, this is interesting to me that I've watched a couple of genres that I don't normally watch. I watched a modern horror film, which I watch all the time. Didn't like that one. I watched a film noir from 1950, which I don't watch a ton of. I enjoyed that one for what it was, but I've decided not to grab that Blu-ray set, at least not right now. I might in the future, we'll see. And then a random adventure film from 1960, a Robin Hood tale. Like, these are just not movies I spend a lot of time with, the second two. And so I think this was a very productive vlog, introduced me to something completely different that I don't normally watch. So I am going to leave it there. I now have to film the introduction to this video because admittedly, I had no idea what I was going to watch for this. I kind of just started filming as I watched the first one. So yeah, that's a little peek behind the curtain there. I got to film the intro. But anyway, guys, let me know down below. Have you seen either or any of these 3 movies? And if so, do you love them? Do you hate them? Do you recommend anything else that are similar to these that I might enjoy even more? Give me any recommendations down below. I will try to link in the description box Damn Fool Idealistic Crusade because I talked about him in this video. Movie Chatter I mentioned today as well. I'll link her channel down below also. So definitely check them out. They are wonderful at what they do and I cannot recommend either of them enough. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this one, I just ask that you hit that like button. That really does help me out. But with that said, before you go, I want to encourage you all to consume some media today. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this vlog where I just ramble on and on. I really do appreciate all that support. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you all next time.